Hey, thanks for checking out this Illustrator character product. This is what is included in this purchase. A fully rigged illustration style cartoon character with a great and smooth working rig. Also, 20 plus custom poses are included in the purchase. And the renders are super duper quick, around 15 seconds in cycles and 7 seconds in Eevee. And this is the very clean and simple wireframe. You can see it here from the back. And this is how it looks close up. Thanks for sticking through the intro part. Everything that I talk about will be mentioned in the timestamp, so if you care about the Blender version, the rigs or the poses, or how to create a custom pose in case you're new to Blender, everything is mentioned down in the description, so just check out the timestamps and go to the places you want to check out. So this file works with the latest Blender, which you can get under blender.org/downloads. You can see my version currently is 3.31, but the file will work with Blender versions 3.0 to Blender 3.6, 7, 8, 9. Every newest Blender version should work great. Just make sure you don't have the older versions like Blender 2.9, 7, or whatever these versions still could work, but maybe the poses, the custom poses might not work. Anyways, just download the latest Blender version, install it, and everything is gonna be great. Alright, now we're at the checking out the rig part of the video. First, to check out the rig, we need to go into pose mode. Actually, one thing before that, you can see the character looks weird. You can see the hair coming through. Just make sure that is because we have simplify enabled. You can see these glitches. This is just some Blender bug right now. The renders still look fine, so don't worry about that, but the previews for some reason glitch a tiny bit, but the renders are gonna be fine. I enable simplify because if we don't, you can see here, I'm gonna, for example, go into pose mode and try to move the chest part. You can see it's not as laggy, but if I had simplified disabled, basically not enabled, it's going to be more detailed and then it's going to lag a lot. So yeah, just make sure you have some simplify enabled and then testing out the rig is going to be a lot easier. Anyways, we're going to press N on our keyboards to see all the rig layers, which we have. We can disable a few or enable how you want. You can simply left click on them and then you're gonna hide or enable them. The facial rig is fairly simple because there's not a detailed mouth. We can open it up, move the tongue in case we want to. We can open up the eyes, blink them, move the eyebrows by double selecting, moving up, down. You would need to play around, of course, like making mad like that. You can have we can also, of course, move the torso like that, the shoulders, um, the legs, of course. There's a bunch of rig layers you can play around. If you want to know more, check out the timestamps where I create a custom pose. There I'll actually use them more, but here I'm just showing a bunch of things that we have. Now we're at the changing poses part of the video. To do that, we'll first press 1 on our numpad to have the front view. We still have our camera view in the top right corner. To change the poses, simply go into pose mode and just click on the poses in the left corner and they should switch instantly. You can drag around if you want to see more. You can see the preview of the poses in the left and you can also hide the rig in case you want to see more detailed. Move it around. Of course, don't worry about the black hair coming out of the helmet. This is due to simplify being enabled. If I disable it, we can switch to poses, but then it's going to be a bit more laggy. And of course, ignore these things. These are only visible in the material modes. I don't know how to fix it at the moment, but it's not gonna impact the renders. The renders are still gonna look great. This is simply a bug right now, and don't worry about it. It's fine. Just go back into simplify mode. It's gonna hide anyways. And that is how you change custom poses. But in case when you change custom poses and it looks something like this, you need to simply make sure you have nothing selected. So I have nothing selected, and if I press G and move my mouse around, you can see that nothing moves. But if I have this square selected and I press G, you can see the thing moves. And so if I have it selected and I try to click to poses, it's not going to allow me. So just make sure you have nothing selected, and then you will be able to change poses easily. Now we're at the exporting render part of the video. There are a few things you need to do before you click render. First, make sure you choose the render engine you want, either Cycles or Eevee. In my case, I'll choose Cycles. Another thing we have to do is just make sure our video card is enabled under System and CUDA. And once you check that, in my case, I'll actually lower the resolution to 25% just so I can preview the thing. But if we click on render image, you will notice that it takes about, oh, I forgot to enable the lights. That's a good thing I can recommend as well. Click on these lights, so they're enabled. Maybe these ones as well, so we have double lights. And if we click on render image now, you will see the lights being enabled, and it taking around 15 seconds. Yeah, it's 12 seconds, and to save the image, just click on image, save as, and just make sure you have RGBA enabled if you want the image to be PNG. But besides that, just choose the directory and click on save image. Creating a custom pose, this is the funnest part for most of the people. We first go into pose mode and select the T-pose. The next thing we can do is by press N and show a bunch of rig layers, and we can start knocking out the pose. Let me enable the arms, left K, IK, and disable the fingers because we won't need those. And the pose we'll create is just a soldier pose where he just stands still. There's a lot of ways how to navigate. You can check out my YouTube channel and click on Poplar. There's a bunch of videos where I show better, more detailed ways how to navigate in case you're interested in that. But I'm just pressing G and dragging it, and then pressing R to rotate. And you can press G and X if you want to rotate on a particular axis, move on particular axis. And yeah, so we have our soldier pose. We actually have our hands on the hips, and we'll move the elbows so it looks more natural. Then we'll make the character smile by selecting this and then shift selecting the other and just moving it up. And we'll open up the mouth a tiny bit and we'll rotate it like that. We'll rotate the thing like that also. And we'll have his leg up a tiny bit like that. And then we'll move his feet apart. Of course, I'm just making it very quick. In your case, I would recommend having reference images and just spending more time on your custom poses. But in my case, that will be all in creating a custom pose. Okay, saving a custom pose. Let's say you just created your custom pose. First thing you have to do is be, of course, in pose mode so you don't lose your pose, and then just press A. That's going to select all the rig layers. Just make sure you do that in the pose mode, and then press N and press animations. Then simply click create pose asset. In the bottom left, you have a text input. simply input whatever you want. We'll call it soldier. Oops, that's Russian for some reason. We'll call it soldier pose. Bam. And you can see it should show up here. If you want to rename it, just click on this and call it, for example, James soldier pose. I'm gonna hide it like that. And to switch through poses again, as usual, just click on them and you can see our custom pose being saved. One thing you can see I just messed up. I didn't have the roots enabled. That's an error on my part. So that's why he's looking sideways. So we're gonna actually rotate him like that. And then I'm gonna press A, and then I'm gonna save this custom pose again. And then we're gonna call it Soldier James Soldier version 2. And now if we switch through pose, as you can see, it's gonna work fine. So it's a great error just to showcase how to do things. Yeah, thanks for watching. Check out the links in the description. Bye bye.